Okay, welcome everybody to the coldest room in the conference. And I'm really happy to introduce Sheila for our next talk.
Take it away. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to be here today to talk to you about Pytest JupyterHub, which is a powerful and reusable Pytest plugin designed to improve the testing infrastructure of JupyterHub. So my name is Sheila Kahwai, and I am an open source maintainer and contributor at Project JupyterHub, where my journey in open source began as an Outreachy intern. When I'm away from my computer, I enjoy trying out new recipes, which don't always turn out as you expect. Watching documentaries. If you recommend it, I've probably already watched it, but I have a bit of a short-term memory when it comes to movies, so you can recommend it and I'll watch it again. And attending music festivals with my friends, which I think is really fun. So I have a bachelor's degree in computer science, but it wasn't until last year through Outreachy that I made my first contribution to open source, which is very unfortunate. I really should have started earlier. So let me talk to you a bit about Outreachy. So Outreachy is an organization that provides paid internships to people subject to systemic bias and impacted by underrepresentation in the technical industry where they're living. If you're feeling nervous about contributing to open source, I recommend trying out Outreachy. There are many projects that you can choose from to contribute to, and the Outreachy team and open source community of the project that you choose is always there to guide you, which really helped me with my journey into open source. So let's dive in. During this talk, I will be covering 4 important things. What is Pytest JupyterHub? Why is it important? What have we achieved so far? And what can you as the Jupyter community do? But first, let me introduce JupyterHub. So JupyterHub is a tool that lets you set up a central location where multiple users can create and use their own Jupyter notebooks. It allows you to move Jupyter notebooks seamlessly onto different computational systems, such as cloud-based platforms, Kubernetes clusters, and Docker containers without worrying much about compatibility issues or transferring files manually. JupyterHub is made up of a couple of components, such as the authenticator, which verifies usernames and passwords of users who want to log into JupyterHub, the spawner, which starts each single user notebook server, and the proxy, which allows users to communicate with the hub, and vice versa. But the most amazing thing about these components, the authenticator, spawner, and the proxy, is that they all have different implementations. For the authenticator, we have the authenticator and native authenticator. For the spawner, we have the Docker spawner, Kube spawner, and more. And for the proxy, we have the configurable HTTP proxy and the traffic proxy. And now we get to the conundrum. With multiple implementations of JupyterHub's components, we have multiple testing suites. Because these components, these testing suites build everything from the ground up using the Pytest framework. And this work can be repetitive. And some of the tests can be underdefined. And that is where I come in. My internship at Project JupyterHub through Outreachy saw me working collaboratively with the JupyterHub community to solve this problem. And that was the beginning of Pytest JupyterHub. And now let's get to the main point. What is Pytest JupyterHub? Pytest JupyterHub is a reusable Pytest plugin that provides importable testing utilities, such as fixtures and mocks, where a fixture is a function that prepares and cleans up an environment for testing, and a mock is an object that simulates the behavior of another object, such as a function or a class. You can use Pytest JupyterHub in 3 simple steps. First, you install it with pip. It is currently available for install from PyPI, so you can install it easily through pip. Then you load the plugin by registering it in your conf.test.py file or your test module. You do this by setting the variable name Pytest underscore plugins to the name of the plugin that you want to use, and Pytest will automatically load this plugin when you're running tests. By doing that, by loading the plugin, all the plugin fixtures and mocks will be available to you, and you can easily use them by passing them as arguments to your test fixture or function. It's very simple. 3 simple steps. So why is Pytest JupyterHub important? First, it allows for reusability of code, where contributors can save time and resources by leveraging existing code rather than having to develop test suites from scratch. It is also important because it improves the maintainability of JupyterHub and its components, as software can be modified, updated, or repaired after deployment with ease due to the thorough testing procedures that Pytest JupyterHub would provide. So what have we done so far? We started off by studying spawner implementations, and we noted that the Docker spawner and the Kube spawner both require instances of JupyterHub. And you can have an instance of JupyterHub to use in your test suite by either importing the entire JupyterHub class, importing the mockup class, which provides mocked implementations of some of JupyterHub's functions, or you can import the app fixture from JupyterHub's conf.test.py file that utilizes the mockup class to provide a lightweight running JupyterHub application. If you decide to import the JupyterHub class or the mockup class to provide you with an instance of JupyterHub, you will notice that the setup and teardown of an instance of JupyterHub is quite complicated. There are a lot of functions that you need to call to ensure that your hub is functional and that the cleanup after testing is completely done. And some of these functions are async and therefore need to be awaited. But if you decide to jump that hurdle, you will only end up writing code that's been implemented elsewhere, and therefore you will end up with repeated code. If you decide to use the app fixture, you will notice that you need to import all the fixtures that the app fixture relies on. Yes, you may not need to use them in your test suite, but if the app fixture requires them, you need to get them. And therefore, you end up with unused dependencies in your test suite. So what we did is that we created 2 fixtures within the JupyterHub Spawners plugin. For both, the first fixture we created is the configured mockup instance fixture that provides a configured instance of JupyterHub. So it provides a configured JupyterHub object. And then we created the hubup fixture that provides a configured instance of JupyterHub, starts it, and yields it. For both fixtures, you only need to pass a config dictionary specifying the configurations that you would like your JupyterHub instance to be started with. Or you can pass an empty config dictionary if you don't want to override the default configurations. So the hubup fixture, unlike the configured mockup instance fixture, provides a running instance of JupyterHub. It is an async fixture and therefore needs to be awaited. The next thing we did was test the fixtures. So first we passed an empty config dictionary so as not to override the default configuration. Then we passed a config dictionary specifying the configurations that we would like our instance of JupyterHub to be started with. For the configured mockup instance, mockup instance fixture, we asserted that the app was created and that no PID file was created, as this is just a configured JupyterHub object and not a running instance. And for the hubup fixture, we asserted that the app was created, initialized, and started, and that a PID file was created since a process has been started, as this is a running instance of JupyterHub. The final thing we did is that we integrated the plugin in a test suite. We did this by creating a draft pull request to demonstrate how the plugin can be integrated into the Docker Spawner test suite. We will always leave it to the maintainers of JupyterHub component implementations to decide if they would like to integrate this plugin into their test suite. So let me show you how we did this. Oh, sorry. Okay, so this is the draft pull request that we created. So the first thing that we did was that we listed Pytest JupyterHub as a project dependency in Docker Spawner's requirements.txt file, and installed all the packages listed in it along with their dependencies with pip. You can install the plugin. Wait, is it showing the? Okay, yeah. You can install the plugin from PyPI, but there were some recent changes that I needed to include in this draft pull request, and that's why we installed from GitHub instead, but you can install from PyPI. We then loaded the plugin. Let me show you here. Yeah, we then loaded the plugin instead of importing it, like a normal Python package. Yeah, because we don't need to do that anymore. You don't need to import the fixtures anymore. We only needed to load the plugin, and we could use any and all of the plugin fixtures. So in this case, we ended up using the HubHub fixture, as the Docker spawner requires a running instance of JupyterHub. So you will notice that we don't need to import any of the fixtures that the HubHub fixture requires. And this is, I feel like, a step up, because you only need to load the plugin, and then you can use all the fixtures and mocks that the plugin provides. Can you help? I need to go back to the presentation. Okay, sure. Okay. Thank you. All right. So now we can see our plugin fixture in use. As I said, in the Docker Spawner test suite, we require a running instance of JupyterHub. So we used the HubHub fixture by passing it as an argument to the Docker Spawner app fixture. We created a config dictionary with attributes that are specific to the Docker spawner, such as the prefix and the image. We then passed the config dictionary as an argument to the HubHub fixture that then creates a running instance of JupyterHub, starts it, and yields it. And voila, we have a running configured instance of JupyterHub that we can use throughout our Docker spawner test suite. And that is what we have achieved so far. So what can you, as the Jupyter community, do? So Pytest JupyterHub was created with authors of JupyterHub's component implementations in mind. The main agenda has always been to make it easier for you to test your code. So we started with the Spawners plugin. Currently, the Spawner authors can use the JupyterHub Spawners plugin to test their implementations against an instance of JupyterHub. In your work with using the plugin, you're always welcome to contribute to the project. You can open issues and make pull requests to implement additional plugins, fixtures, and mock that you feel will be useful in your work. And we will really appreciate that. Secondly, all contributors are welcome. You're welcome to open issues, work on already open issues, and make pull requests to help us improve the maintainability and continuity of Project JupyterHub. There is sufficient documentation. I wish I could show you right now, but it's really technical right now. So there is sufficient documentation to guide you on how to set up the environment, whether you want to contribute code or documentation. This is a new project. It's a growing project. I feel like it has a lot of potential. So all of you are welcome. You're welcome to contribute even now. There is the link to the GitHub repository, and all All contributions are welcome and will be appreciated. You can contribute to the project by following our 4-step process. It's really simple. First, you identify reusable code in any of JupyterHub's component implementations. And then you create fixtures or mocks implementing the reusable code. And then you test the fixtures and mocks that you created. And then finally, you create a draft pull request to demonstrate how the plugin can be integrated in your chosen test suite. And that is all. I've come to the end of my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it and that you feel empowered to contribute to Pytest JupyterHub. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Do we have questions? Yeah.
So this is great. I wish Min and I had this like 7 years ago, but did you guys do any of the work on the authenticators, or you just started with the spawners?
Oh, we just started with the spawner implementations, yeah.
That makes sense. And so if I was a maintainer of another spawner outside of like Docker or the kube spawner, what would I need to do to test it? Would it just work with the Pytest spawner plugin and maybe adjusting some things?
Yes, if you're an author of a spawner implementation, you can use the current JupyterHub spawners plugin that provides either a running instance of JupyterHub or a configure JupyterHub object. You only need to configure the app fixture that you choose, so that the JupyterHub instance is started with the attributes that you need. Yeah.
Great. Great job. This is cool stuff.
All right. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And I was wondering if this tool also can be used for, like we have using the JupyterHub, and we adding other, we're using the Kubernetes to deploy our tools, and we add some other service provisions from Kubernetes community, like storages and even the service. So this can be used to test the deployment?
Currently, right now, the plugin is for testing spawner implementations. So no, not really. No.
Yeah, maybe I didn't express clearly. Like, yeah, I think maybe we can talk later, because I also don't have a clear idea.
Sarah, would you like to take discussion?
So a spawner is how do you create the notebook server? So I think if you've got services that are attached to the notebook server, this is not testing those. This is if you are, okay, so there's Docker spawner, there's kube spawner, there is, maybe you're writing a HPC spawner. That is when you will use this Pytest plugin, but as sort of like a maintainership, so other users of your spawner can be confident that it works. I don't think this tool is less about testing live deployments. Yeah, a unit test of a component of JupyterHub, yes.
So I have a question. Since it's testing one component, do you know what the plans are is there plans to continue to expand this, to provide this for other components, or are you just focusing on working on this now?
Right now we started with the spawner implementations, but of course we plan on expanding to the authenticator implementations or proxy implementations. That's why we're inviting contributions, especially from component authors. So yeah, you're always welcome to contribute. If you feel like there is a feature that you need, you can always open an issue and we can discuss it and hopefully implement that in the plugins. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, one more round of applause for our speaker, please.
Thank you.